Hey guys, Toxi here and welcome to the overview for ToxiUI Patch 6.9.0. As always, I'm gonna go through the whole changelog, so grab your favorite beverage, sit down and see what's new. Starting with the breaking changes, we have changed the names of all the custom texts that the ToxiUI uses. So if we go to LVUI settings, unit frames, units and custom texts, you will see that now these names are changed and they're ToxiUI specific. And I have made this change just to further identify ourselves, and whenever you uninstall ToxiUI, you can still see that these tags, they used to come from ToxiUI. So for the user, this change does not really do anything, but it just helps me to, organize my code. And there might be an issue where some custom texts are not being converted because we did write an automatic database conversion. But if you notice that some of the texts still haven't converted, I've left steps here to what exactly do, and I'm gonna show you them right now. So first, what you wanna do is just log out from your character, then open your World of Warcraft folder. In this case, I'm gonna be going to the retail one. Open the WTF folder, go into account, select your account, and then open saved variables. Find the LVUI file and just open it with your favorite text editor. In here, you will see all of the settings that you have for LVUI. What I want you to do is just type, hit the search command and type last db conversion. As you can see, we have only one entry of that line. It's right here. And what I want to do is just reduce this number from 690 to something less. So I'm going to go with previous patch, which is 6.8.8. Save this file, and then you can log back in with your character. And once you log in, the database conversion should have been successful. If you are in a beta build, you will see this debug message saying the database conversion was finished. If you're on a stable release, you won't see that message, so don't worry about it. And if you go and check your custom texts again, you should see that all of them are now converted. If there are still some that aren't converted, I don't know what's happening. Sometimes the conversion just misses some of them. So just repeat those steps that I just showed to you. Next up in the breaking changes list, we have removed the Steelfish font. We haven't actively used that font since ToxiUI 6.3.0. So it's just a waste of space, and I want as much performance as possible. And speaking of performance, recently in the past couple of months there has been a huge conversation / witch hunt happening. People blaming add-ons for killing their raid performance because Blizzard absolutely has nothing to do with it, sure. But basically I've discovered that having huge font files drastically impacts loading times, and because of that I have decided to remove the Korean fonts that we previously added, just because there are so many characters and the font files literally triple in size, and the whole add-on is just 3-4 times bigger than it should be. Now, I know this decision is gonna piss off a portion of my users, but if you really want to have the same fonts, you can go into GitHub, look at the commit history, and you will see those fonts. You can download them and then just add them via shared media. And for the last breaking change, when you are installing ToxiUI in the classic era game version, you will no longer have action bars set to classic, meaning your action bars will not be displaying in the middle of the screen. Instead, they'll be displayed at the bottom as is in retail and in Cataclysm. And the reason for that is very simple, is because Luxtos has finally released his recourse packages for classic era. These are identical. These have the same custom options structure as it does for retail. So my recourse guide still applies to the classic version as well. And of course, we've updated the installer to include the link to the new Classic Era Hardcore weak ORS. So yeah, finally. Moving on to new features. First on our list is a small little nice addition to the game menu skin, and do be aware that this is for retail only, but we have added collections to the game menu skin. So now when you press escape, you will see a nice little list of your collections, meaning mounts, toys, pets, and your achievement points. If you have any more ideas on what I could add here, do let me know, I'll definitely consider it. And do note, while recording, I noticed a little bug with pets not displaying correctly. It showed 0 previously, and I think it's because I had an unwrapped gift pet in my menu, and once I unwrapped it and reloaded, this updated to the correct number. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if there's something I can do from code, maybe, so I'll check it later, but it's not critical. And the next new feature that you have probably already noticed throughout the video is updated playthrough design. So let me just open the changelog, because I have a whole list written here of what changes. So let's go to the enemies first. And here you can see I have reduced the height of the health and the cast bars, so we can test the cast bars really quickly. As you can see, the design is more slim, minimal, lean, and it overall just looks nicer. I have been thinking about updating playthrough for a very long time, like I don't know, maybe a year, even more. I was always hesitant. I went through multiple versions, a lot of playing around with them, and this is what I finally struck with. So I don't know, I think this looks nicer. And don't worry that they are smaller, because the click area is actually bigger than the nameplate itself. So here you can see I'm hovering around here, which is not the nameplate entirely, and if I click it, it targets. So if they're smaller, doesn't mean they're harder to click, so just keep that in mind. Then of course we changed the fonts to ToxiUI, reduced all the font sizes, reduced hover target alpha, and then we've also changed the friendly NPC names, enabled the guild name. So now if you're using friendly nameplates, they look much nicer now. And of course, well, not of course, we also fixed the scaling issue with the playthrough. So sometimes there was a bug where the font on the nameplate would look very pixelated, and I believe it was because of that scaling issue. And now that I've fixed it, it should, stop bugging out. Next up are the profile updates. And as always, a little disclaimer for you. Every time there is a ToxiUI update, you don't necessarily have to rerun the whole installation process again. All that you need to do is open the ToxiUI changelog and look at the profile update section and see which add-ons were affected this patch. So here you can clearly see that Plater and LVUI were both affected. And of course, we updated the whole design, so obviously Plater is affected. So if you want these new changes, if you want the new Plater design and these minor updates, all you have to do is go to ToxiUI, open the installer, skip directly to Plater, apply this profile, close it, your UI reloads, and then you're done with the update. And then if you want the LVUI change to apply, you do the same thing, open the installer, except this time you go to core settings and apply one of the layouts. And that's how you get the LVUI changes. And as for the profile updates themselves, they're very minor. For Plater, we added some hunter buffs, auras to manual buff tracking, and we made Shaman's Blue for Classic Era because LVUI now has that function. In the documentation part, we only did very small changes. We've updated the links to ToxiUI weak ORS guide. So if you open the installer, go to weak ORS guide, you will now see the updated full URL, because sometimes the redirect doesn't work, so it's better to have it full. Then we updated the TOC for all of the game versions, so it doesn't show you that ToxiUI is out of date. And obviously we've increased the minimum required LVY version because, well, we encouraged you to always have your add-ons up to date. Not updating your add-ons is the #1 cause of errors. So yeah. And lastly, settings refactoring. As I've already mentioned, we've added Luxtos WeakOS in the installer for Classic Era. And the last thing, we've allowed gradient mode's background brightness to go to 0. So let me just do a quick showcase of that. If I now take some damage here, we can see that the background of my health is purely dark. And now if I go to ToxiUI settings, themes, settings, and here we have background brightness. By default, this is 35 if I'm not mistaken. And now if I take damage again, you can see that the background of your uniframe and your cast bar as well is not purely dark. It's a shade, a darker shade of the main color. And that is it for ToxiUI patch 6.9.0. I know this patch isn't very big and the updates haven't been very frequent, but I think ToxiUI is in a good place right now, and if there aren't any updates happening, doesn't necessarily mean that the project is abandoned. We're just taking things slow. As always, if you have any suggestions, issues, bugs, whatever, join our Discord server for support. YouTube comments will be ignored most of the time. And if you have a serious bug, open a GitHub issue. Thank you for your time, and see you next time.